Imagine walking through a forest where every rustle in the dark could be a 2-meter-long millipede moving toward you. Wings as wide as a hawk suddenly pass overhead, not from a bird, but from an insect hunting in the humid night.
This is not an alien planet. This was Earth, roughly 320 million years ago.
Vast swamp forests stretched across the tropics, their tangled roots and fallen trunks slowly becoming the coal we burn today.
In this world, the air itself was different. Oxygen climbed to a...
On Universe Unlocked, we are going to step into that oxygen-soaked world and see how it turned our planet into a nightmare of giant insects.
Continent. The Carboniferous lasted from about 359 to about 300 million years ago.
Here, tree-sized clubmosses and horsetail relatives form dense canopies, filtering sunlight into a green, underwater-like glow. The ground was more water than soil, a maze of roots, mud, and stagnant pools where early amphibians and arthropods hunted and hid. The plants did more than shape the scenery. By photosynthesizing and burying carbon, they pumped oxygen into the air faster than it could be used.
With so much organic matter locked away as future coal, carbon dioxide dropped and free oxygen surged.
Insects do not breathe with lungs like ours. They rely on tiny tubes that let oxygen diffuse directly into their tissues. That system works well at small scales, but it normally limits how big insects can grow because oxygen must travel passively through those tubes.
In a hyper-oxygen-rich atmosphere, those limits relax. Oxygen reaches deeper into the body, and
High oxygen was not the only factor. Ecological space, climate, and the lack of fast-flying...
On the forest floor, one of the most intimidating creatures of this age was not a dinosaur, but a millipede relative named arthropleura.
Ara could grow over 2 meters long, making it the largest land arthropod ever known, roughly the length of a small car sliding through the undergrowth.
Despite its terrifying size, it was probably a slow-moving detritus feeder, grinding through fallen leaves and rotting plant matter rather than chasing prey.
Its armor plates and many legs would have made it hard to attack, and in a world with few large vertebrate predators on land, it could grow enormous.
Above the swamps, something far more agile ruled the skies.
Meganeura, a giant dragonfly relative, had wingspans up to around 7 centimeters, comparable to the spread of a modern hawk.
Powerful flight muscles and big compound eyes made it a top aerial predator, snatching smaller insects straight out of the thick Carboniferous air.
Spines or its legs may have worked like a flying trap, closing around prey that never saw it coming through the dim green light.
On the forest floor, scorpions like Pulmonoscorpius could reach length of 70 centimeters, armed with pincers and a venomous sting. Larger eyes than modern scorpions suggest it relied heavily on vision, stalking smaller arthropods and early tetrapods through the undergrowth.
This was an arthropod world, from oversized spiders and centipedes to bizarre extinct insect groups.
Compared to their modern relatives, these animals look almost wrong, but their fossils are real and surprisingly detailed.
Impressions of wings and trackways in ancient sediments let us reconstruct how big they were and the environments they lived in.
Many of the best fossils come from coal deposits in Europe and North America, where those long-vanished forests were buried and preserved. Oxygen levels appear to have risen toward the mid-30s by volume during this era, before falling again by the end of the Paleozoic.
Experiments and models suggest that higher oxygen would directly support larger arthropod bodies and more powerful flight.
The timing is not perfect, and some giants appear before the oxygen peak, but the overall pattern strongly hints at a connection.
Giant insects did not rule alone. Early four-limbed vertebrates were beginning to explore life on land, still bound to the water but increasingly bold. For a small amphibian in the Carboniferous, the shadow of a giant insect overhead could mean the difference between surviving and becoming prey.
High oxygen, abundant plants, and complex food webs created an ecosystem where arthropods could...
The climate was warm and humid in many regions, with frequent rain fueling the growth of those coal-age forests.
Later in the Carboniferous, climate patterns shifted. Glaciations grew, sea levels changed.
As oxygen levels dropped and new vertebrate predators evolved, It became harder for supersized insects to survive and compete.
By the time flying vertebrates dominated the skies, no insect could compete at hawk-sized scales without paying.
So could this nightmare come back? Could future Earth see dragonflies the size of eagles and millipedes like sliding cars? The answer starts with the air. Pushing oxygen much higher than it is today would make wildfires far more frequent and dangerous for us. In a world with our dry grasses and human infrastructure, Carboniferous-style oxygen could turn entire regions into tinderboxes.
Evolution has also taken a different path since then. Modern insects are adapted to today's atmosphere and ecosystems, not to those ancient swamps.
The dragonfly you see over a modern pond is a distant cousin of Meganeura, scaled down but still echoing that ancient design.
For giants like Arthropleura, changing climates and new competitors eventually pushed them into history, leaving only their trackways behind.
Our image of these animals keeps improving as new fossils and imaging techniques reveal more about their anatomy and lifestyles.
Recent work has even reconstructed the head of Arthropleura in detail, confirming it as a millipede relative and not a predator with huge fangs.
Put together, the Carboniferous was a unique combination of factors: plant evolution, climate, oxygen, and ecology.
To live there as an African-American female human would mean breathing denser air, dodging enormous arthropods.
Every step on the forest floor would risk startling something bigger than your leg that is not interested in you, but could crush your path without trying. A close encounter with Meganeura would be like meeting a living drone. Fast, precise, and absolutely in control of the air around you. The soundscape would be different too, dominated not by birds but by the constant buzz, beating wings, and clattering limbs of arthropods.
Beneath the surface, early fish and amphibians picked through forests of submerged roots and decaying stems, part of the same oxygen-driven machine.
With fewer decomposers capable of breaking down lignin-rich wood, vast amounts of plant material were buried instead of fully rotting, locking away carbon. That imbalance is what let oxygen climb so high, helping drive both the coal deposits we mine and the gigantism we marvel at. It is strange to realize that the same forests that fed Arthropleura and Meganeura are now fueling our power plants and changing our climate.
The Carboniferous reminds us that Earth's atmosphere and life have never been static. They have shifted dramatically long before humans appeared.
Deep time does not care what feels normal to us. Giant insects were simply what the physics and biology of that era allowed. Here on Universe Unlocked, we use periods like the Carboniferous to show how sensitive life is to invisible things like oxygen levels and climate.
Whether we are talking about giant insects, alien oceans, or black holes, the goal is the same.
In some ways, the Carboniferous was the closest Earth has come to feeling like a science fiction world, even though it was completely real.
For students today, these giants are more than monsters. They are evidence that our planet has gone through states we can barely imagine.
If you had a time machine, would you dare step into the Carboniferous forest? Or would the sound of those wings be one step too far?
Fortunately, we do not need time machines. Fossils and physics let us reconstruct that world with surprising detail from here and now.
Everything you have seen in this episode is based on published research about ancient oxygen levels, arthropod anatomy, and Carboniferous ecosystems.
Our entire species sits on a thin slice at the end of that oxygen curve, benefiting from conditions that are temporary on geological scales.
Meaning, we are now reshaping the same carbon and oxygen cycles that once built the coal forests and
Deep time stories like this help us see our own moment more clearly, as just one chapter in a very long book.
Giant insects had their age, dinosaurs had theirs, and mammals have ours.
If you want to explore more of those worlds, from snowball Earth to alien-looking Cambrian seas, you will find them here.
Universe Unlocked is built to take you on journeys through time, deep space, and the unknown, using real science and powerful storytelling.
Subscribe if you want more episodes where the universe finally makes sense, even when it looks like a horror movie made of insects.
The Carboniferous nightmare was real, and for tens of millions of years, Earth belonged to creatures like these.
Today they survive only as imprints in stone and as stories in our imagination, rebuilt from fragments and equations.
For the next generation, these fossils are invitations to ask new questions and maybe uncover new giants we have not found yet.
From ancient bugs to distant galaxies, this channel exists to connect your curiosity with the biggest stories the universe has to offer.
You have just walked through one of the strangest chapters in Earth's past, where oxygen...
Our world looks calm by comparison, but it is built on the bones and coal of worlds like that one.